Kelly Ripa had an unexpected wardrobe mishap on the December 9th episode of Live, and she didn't shy away from addressing it. Mark Consuelos kicked off the show by asking his wife, "Are you getting dressed?" "I'm still getting dressed," Kelly admitted. "Hey guys, I'm not going to lie, 10 seconds ago, I was not dressed at all. And now I'm sort of half-dressed." Mark then playfully attempted to steal a glance at his wife's blouse while she was adjusting it. Let me check you out," he said. No, I'm missing a lot of things." "I'm missing a belt," replied Kelly. Mark tried to ease the moment by reassuring his wife that she looked perfectly fine. "It looks good," he said. "Look, it's fine. We're all together," added Kelly. "I think my fly is up. We're fine. Somehow we made it." The hectic beginning spilled into the rest of the show. As Kelly revealed, it had been a particularly chaotic morning. "You still have a lozenge in your mouth. I have a piece of gum in my mouth," said Mark. "You were banging on the door, and I kept screaming." "No," replied Kelly. Mark, who shares kids Michael, Lola, and Joaquin with his wife, joined Live officially in 2023 following Ryan Seacrest's departure. Ryan left the show due to the demands of traveling back and forth between his home in Los Angeles and the studio in New York, as well as his desire to focus on other projects. Back in July, Kelly revealed that she and Mark were initially hesitant about sharing the spotlight together. In an interview on the Not Skinny But Not Fat podcast, Kelly admitted that Mark had an unexpected reaction when he was first offered the permanent role on ABC. "It was really about convincing Mark," she explained. "Because initially when they came to Mark, he flat out refused. I also thought that was kind of a bad idea," she shared. "I was like, a husband and a wife hosting a morning show is different from a husband and wife acting together or producing something together." Despite the couple's initial hesitation, they have proved popular with television fans. "The audience really responds to Mark because Mark has a give zero expletive attitude," Kelly said. "And the audience loves that. There's no artifice with him. If he hates something, he hates it out loud no matter how much we're supposed to love it. And when he thinks something is dumb, he says it no matter how much we're supposed to pretend to like whatever the thing is." The morning began like most mornings in the Consuelos-Ripa household. Carefully negotiated stampede. Coffee mugs and curling irons, backpacks and scripts, the dog weaving between ankles like a small, opinionated current. Sunlight found its way through the blinds and landed on the two of them in the only place they could call quiet for 60 seconds, right before the world expected them to be loud. Kelly checked her reflection, not really for vanity, but out of habit, like a musician tuning an instrument. She smoothed the blouse that had already given up on behaving and shrugged the absurdity of needing to look perfect in a world that loved watching the cracks. Mark, who was never one to be sentimental about appearances, was at the doorway with a half-eaten lozenge and a grin that had survived far worse. "Are you getting dressed?" he asked, which was both a question and a PDA headline. "I'm still getting dressed," Kelly said, waving a sleeve like a white flag. 10 seconds ago, I wasn't dressed at all. Now I'm sort of half-dressed." There was a beat, an awkward, incandescent silence, and then the line between private and public thinned. They lived on that edge. Live television was less a schedule and more a state of mind. At any moment, a curtain could fall where it didn't belong. That morning, the curtain did. The blouse that had been cooperative for an hour decided it had other ideas. In the blink between cue and camera, a button skipped town, and a seam delivered a quiet, catastrophic betrayal. Let me check you out," Mark said, playful and family-safe in tone, but the cameras were already hungry. No, I'm missing a lot of things." "I'm missing a belt," Kelly said, half laughing, half negotiating. Her voice was the same one people heard every morning, that sharp, recognizable cadence that had become a sort of weather report, warm, brisk, and occasionally catastrophic. Mark tried to ease the moment. "It looks good," he said. "Look, it's fine. We're all together." The crew, a tucked-away cabal of people who move like gears and never want fireworks, exhaled into their headsets. Someone off stage handed Kelly a cardigan in a way that suggested they did this more than they claimed. The teleprompter buzzed. The morning show's theme music swallowed the last of the awkward and turned it into the rhythm of the hour. The rest of that episode spun out of that small, honest disaster. Kelly told the story without dramatics. The banging on the door, the lozenge in Mark's mouth, the chaos of 3 children, Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, who, in the Consuelos Ripa household, arrived each morning like an exclamation point. She said it as if she were reporting the weather, partly sunny, with a chance of everything. Mark's presence on the show had once been a conversation that required coaxing. He had been offered the role, and at first he'd said no. The producers had said, "It could be fun." Mark had said, "It sounds like a show where I will be roasted daily." Kelly had worried that sharing the stage might change something private into something performative. But they had found, in practice, that being married in view of millions was not the same as inventing a performance. It was more like admitting to the audience that life was messy and then inviting them to laugh with them. That day, the whole thing, the button, the cardigan, the banter, became less a mistake and more a lesson in the kind of intimacy that reads well on air. The audience didn't just watch, they witnessed. People sent notes and memes, and the kind of affection that belongs to an era when strangers feel permitted to comment on your socks. Comments poured in like a spring flood. Some were sympathies, some were jokes, and others were notes about their own mornings. There was, beneath it all, a steady recognition. The show's charm was not in never tripping, but in how they handled the trip. After the broadcast, when lights dimmed and the makeup kits closed like little treasure chests, Kelly and Mark sat in a green room that smelled like leftover perfumed laughter and coffee. For once, they didn't have to play to the camera. For once, the world outside the glass was just the world, messy and complicated and homey. "You were that calm," Mark said, studying her as if she were a particularly stubborn crossword puzzle he was determined to solve over breakfast. "I had to be," Kelly said. "What else do I do? Panic? And then maybe the teleprompter eats me." He laughed, then grew quieter. "People love that you're honest." Kelly thought about that, about honesty as a kind of courage. There were mornings when being seen felt like an invitation to be judged, about clothing choices, the tone of a laugh. But there was also the deep, unremarkable bravery that came from showing up. "It's not honesty as a show," she said. "It's honesty because I don't want to waste any energy pretending." Mark reached for her hand. They had been partners long enough to recognize the small ways a day curled toward joy or toward tension. Their handshake was private. The world had to be content with the rest. They walked through the studio and encountered the crew who had been their morning's silent orchestra. A stagehand grinned and said, "You made it, you two." "Somehow we made it," Kelly said. From behind the monitors, a young intern peeked up, eyes wide. "That was the best part of the show," she whispered. Kelly crouched and asked the intern her name, listened to her dream of doing something in TV one day, and was reminded of the vast chain of small, hopeful people who made the mornings possible. It wasn't just luck that turned a wardrobe mishap into a small viral moment. It was craft, the uncanny ability to turn unplanned moments into candid theater. When Kelly spoke about the morning on a later podcast, she remembered the way Mark had leaned in, not to pry, but to protect. "He gives zero," she said and laughed. "He gives zero artifice." The phrase called up the reason their chemistry worked. Mark's candor was a foil to Kelly's comedic chaos. He had a way of saying exactly what he thought, with bluntness that was both disarming and comforting. The television audience valued that because it mirrored the messy conversations in kitchens around the country. Theirs felt like family, not the polished, unreachable kind, but the family that left plates unwashed and secrets scratched out on the backs of receipts.